Hi, I'm Joel Persinger from Practical Defense Systems. Thank you very much for all of your support of our company. I really appreciate it. Okay, I did a video the other day on the changes that California has made to the issuing of the California concealed carry permit. And those changes are going to be implemented a little bit at a time by some sheriffs, one of whom is the sheriff of the San Diego County. And so at some point, you're going to have to take a 16-hour class in order to get a permit in the first place and an 8-hour class in order to renew it. Right now, for those folks who have applied for either their renewal or their initial permit in 2023, they're going to take the original 8-hour class for the initial permit and the 4-hour class for renewal. But as those dwindle out and we get into the folks who have submitted their applications in 2024, those folks are going to have to do the 16-hour and 8-hour, and that's basically how that works. And there's additional components to those classes that weren't there before, mental health and some other things like that. And Dave Weiner, my very good friend and also an instructor here, among other things that he does, is putting together that mental health part for you and for us because he has a master's degree in that. So it's always possible to get somebody good to do that. He's much smarter than me. In any case, this video is more about what's going on with the Bureau of Security and Investigative Services, because that's the agency in the state of California that licenses security guards. And so there are several licenses security guards have to have in order to work in California, and they have to get those from the Bureau of Security and Investigative Services, what everybody calls in the state BSIS. So they've changed several things. They've changed something with regard to the firearms permit guards get. It's a permit that allows a security guard to carry a gun exposed openly while in uniform working or on the way to and from work. And they've made some changes to that. I'll talk about that in a minute. They've made some changes to the powers to arrest guard card course. Everybody calls it the guard card course. You have to have a guard registration card in order to work in security in the state of California. And for many, many years now, ever since 9/11, there's been an 8-hour course that has had powers to arrest as one part of it and weapons of mass destruction as the other part of it. Well, the Bureau has changed that. Actually, the Bureau didn't. The California legislature did. And they actually changed it last year. I mean, I think it was supposed to change January 2023, but it needed to get through the regulatory process because they pass a law, then the regulations have to be approved and issued, and then at that point, you start making the changes. Well, the regulations were just approved, as far as I can tell, on November 30th, and we got these notices for the changes to the firearms permit and the guard registration card class, the guard card class, earlier this week. So this is the speed at which government runs. Okay, now the third one that they changed is they've changed the issuing and the length of time that your baton permit is good if you are a security guard and you have a permit to carry a baton. Now that is a baton permit. I don't know if you can see it or not. That's mine. It's got my name on it. And you see the red serial number on there. Now I'll turn it over. What I want you to look for on that page is a date. You're not going to find one because there isn't one. And then you look on the other side and guess what there isn't? There's no date. So there's no date of issuance on these permits because they were considered lifetime permits. Once you got them, you didn't have to do any research. You had no training to do additionally. You were done. No continuing education. And forgive us, we got stuff going on. My wife's baking and whatever. So if you hear noise in the background, that's because I'm home. So there you are. But in any case, these were lifetime permits. Well, before I go any further, I'll look at the regulation, how it's changed, and you're going to see where this is a little confusing because there is no date of issuance anywhere on the card. Now, here's the other problem. Because these were traditionally issued by the training facility, the school, that's what we are. We're a state licensed training facility. We're a vocational school, Practical Defense Systems. What we would do in the past is we would have to order these. We would buy these green cards from the state of California. We'd order them from the Bureau of Security and Investigative Services, and that's why their logo is on it, and the California logo is on it. It's an actual permit. But we issued them. So we would have the guards come and take the class, and at the end of the class, we would type their name on the card, and we would issue them the card. And then we would have to fill out a report indicating to which guard we issued which serialized card, and we would send that to the Bureau. And then in theory, the Bureau would then take that information and they would record it in the guard's list of licenses that they have at the Bureau. So if you went up to verify a license on the state website, you would find that that guard has a guard registration card, a firearms permit, a baton permit, or whatever. Well, I said in theory because you have to understand that BSIS, the Bureau of Security and Investigative Services, is essentially the security version of the Department of Motor Vehicles, if that tells you anything. And so we would send those into them, which they would lose or not do anything with. And then a guard would would go online to look for it. It wasn't there. And they would contact BSIS and they would say, how come my baton permit isn't there? And of course, BSIS, being a bureaucracy, would point their finger back at the school, at us, and say, well, they never sent us the report. But we did send them the report. So here's the problem now, is that in order to renew it, you have to figure out when the darn thing was issued. So if you can look it up on your BSIS record, it'll have a date on it probably of when it was issued. I don't know, I haven't looked mine up yet, but I'm going to. But if you're just looking at the card, it won't be. Well, if you're one of those people that the baton facility, the training facility, sent in the report and the Bureau lost it, then you're going to go look and you're going to find out it's not there. So there's no way for you to know when this darn thing was issued if they didn't actually process the report, which quite often they don't. All right, so here's the change. now that I've explained to you how the nanny state, bureaucracy state of California works. All right, here's the change where the baton permit is concerned. Let me go find it here. But baton permits. From now on, the facility will no longer issue the permits. They'll be issued by the Bureau like a firearms permit or a guard registration card, what everybody calls a guard card. It says new requirements for baton permits. This is these are the notices that we got just the other day. And this is effective for January 1st. Now, actually, we did get this notice some time ago, so that's okay. But the other ones we just got, like, 3 days ago or something. They showed up in the mail. All right, here we go. New requirements for baton permits. And so, again, to give them credit, they did send this one out quite a while ago. Applicants must submit a complete application and fee directly to the Bureau. So the money goes to the Bureau now. It's all about the money sometimes. All baton permits will be subject to expiration and renewal every 2 years. They used to be lifetime permits. That's why there's not a date on them. Not anymore. Now they'll be issued with a date and they'll expire 2 years later. Applicants for an initial baton permit and those renewing an existing baton permit must complete a baton training course at a licensed baton training facility. That's us. Or, some other licensed facility near you. We're in San Diego. If you're in, Grass Valley or something, or Sacramento or whatever, you're going to have to go somebody else. All right. A baton permit will be associated. Okay, that's pointless. Don't worry about that. But here's the big change is, guess what? Baton permits are now issued by the Bureau. We don't buy them anymore as of January. We won't be buying them from them anymore. They will be issuing them. So you take the class, you fill out the application, you send the money in, or you go online and do it, and they'll send you a permit. And the other change is that permit is no longer lifetime. It's going to expire at some point. Well, here's the problem with the fact that there's no date on these old permits, okay? So as we look in the back, it says the year of expiration will be based on, this is for people who have permits that were issued on or before. All right, expiration date implementation. This is for baton permits issued on or after January 1, 2024. Those will expire 2 years from the date of issuance, if not renewed. Where is the date of issuance? It ain't on there. All right. So, but that's what this says. And it says baton permits issued before January 1, 2024 will expire based on the month and year the permit was issued. But if you can't figure out what that is, I don't know. So there you go. Baton permits will expire on the last day of the month they were issued. Now, here's the problem with that, although they did provide a solution. Let's say you go online and you figure out that your permit was issued in February 2 years ago. Guess what? Then February is an even number. So then it's going to expire in February or maybe it was issued in January, and now it was 2 years ago. You have to come up with a class really quick in January. Well, the problem with that is that I went on the training, the part of the website for the Bureau where you get training materials. The updated training materials and the updated instructions on how to apply and all this stuff are not yet posted. So here's how this works. You have the state, they make laws. The regulatory state makes regulations to how do we implement those laws, and then they send out guidance in the form up to a school saying, here is the syllabus, here is the outline of what you must teach, and here's the process for the student to apply for the license. And then just like a post course, like a police officer standards and training course. It's called standards for a reason, is you get that, and then you have to follow that outline. You have to teach the course according to what the outline is, what the guidance is, so that it's an official course because it's a government class. Well, that outline doesn't exist yet. And so here it is, New Year's Eve day, and I don't have access to that because it doesn't exist. Hopefully they'll get it up there maybe next week, but right now it isn't there. So here you go. Going back to when it's going to expire. You have a baton permit. No date. The year of expiration will be based on the year of the permit was issued. All permits issued in a year ending in an even number, that would be 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, or the examples I give here, will expire in 2024. And all permits issued in a year ending in an odd number, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, for example, will expire in 2025. Example, and it goes on, well, you're not stupid. I don't think you get it. All right, expiration, here's an exception to the rule. Permits issued in the months of January, February, and March, and April of a year ending in an even number will not expire in that month, in the month they were issued. These expiration dates will be adjusted and extended by 4 months to allow permit holders to complete the required training. But the bottom line is the permit is no longer a lifetime permit. You're going to have to renew it every 2 years, which means you're going to have to go take a class at a licensed training facility like Practical Defense Systems, and then you're going to have to submit a renewal. So there's the baton permit changes. I'm sorry about the long video. I'll try to shorten it up here a little bit, but it's kind of strange. All right, so here's the other big change. And there's some changes to the firearms permit stuff. It's not too bad. There's some curriculum changes. This is the exposed permit for security guards in the state that allow them to carry the gun exposed openly while in uniform going to and from work. That's what this permit is for, and it's caliber specific. So the reason they do that is, let's say you qualify with a 9mm or a 40 or whatever. You can carry whatever handgun in that caliber exposed while on duty, in uniform, or going to and from work. The reason why they do it caliber specific like that is that some accounts that a security company may have, or some security organizations issue the firearms. So they can't make it firearm specific, because if it is, then they couldn't issue the firearm. So let's say you get a job working for ABC company and they issue a 9mm, you got to have 9mm on your permit. If you only have 40 on your permit, you can't carry the 9mm, you got to go add the caliber. So that's basically how that works. All right, they're adding a couple of things to this. They're expanding use of force, they're adding mental health components, and they want to talk about active shooters. So that's changing the curriculum. The firearms course in the state of California, like the baton course, cannot be taught online. No portion of it can be taught online. It all has to be taught in a traditional classroom setting, and they actually define in the statute what they mean by traditional classroom setting. And this is going to cause some problems, because we teach the class, okay? We actually teach the class, like a community college class. You come to the office, you go in the classroom, where the instructor's there. Typically it's me, but not always, and we actually teach a class. We may use a video or two as a part of that class, but we get you up and moving, and we actually teach it like a class. A lot of companies don't do that. They put you in, this is just the truth. I'm just telling you the truth here. I'm not ragging on other companies, just the truth. They put you in a little room about the size of a closet sometimes. Maybe it's a classroom. Sometimes it's a little room. And they start a video and they walk out. They come back and start a video and they walk out. And they keep coming back and starting videos and walking out. And at the end, they give you the test. That's it. Well, the Bureau actually, pardon me, I'm beating the microphone here. The Bureau actually fixed that, I guess, by saying, no, this is what a traditional classroom setting means. I don't have it in front of me, but I just read it yesterday looking through the statute. That in order for it to be a traditional classroom, it has to be taught as a traditional class would be taught, with the instructor in the room, with a lecture and a question and answer period and demonstrations and practice and that kind of stuff. And the use of videos in some small portion might be allowed, but it's got to be taught as a class, not just a video parade where you start a video and walk out and start a video and walk out. So I guess if they're going to make us teach a class live, I'd rather have it be an actual class than just video you to death. So honestly, I don't have a problem with that. All right, so they've added a couple of components. There's two things that they have changed. One, you'll notice when you get to the range, if you already have a permit, they've altered the range qualification a little bit, not too much. Used to be based on 6 rounds. Now it's 5, 5, 10, 5, 20, and so on. And so they've just changed the number of rounds fired at different distances. It still is 3 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards, 10 yards, and 15 yards. And so it's a little bit more ammunition than you would have fired before. I think I haven't added it up. Let's see, 20, 30, 40, 50. Yeah, it's like 60 rounds now as opposed to 50 rounds, which is absurd because it makes you buy 2 boxes of ammunition. Let me do it again. 5, 25, 25, 35, 40, 45, 50, 50. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's 55 rounds. Anyway, don't quote me on that. Maybe it's 50 rounds. I may be reading it wrong. Doing math on the fly is not my best thing. All right, so there you go. The change is on the little bit on the curriculum, a little bit on the range qual, and then they have limited the calibers they will put on your permit to 357, 38, 45, 9mm, 40, 10mm, and 380. That's it. So you want to put a 22 on there, you're not going to be able to do it. You want to put your rifle calibered pistol on there, you're not going to be able to do that either. So those are those two. All right, last one. Gee, I'm sorry. It's like 21-minute video. I apologize. But you got to know this stuff. All right, here's the guard card thing. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. The guard card thing is changing because for, I don't know, a decade or more, since online learning really took off, guard card classes, guard registration classes have been taught online. Ever since 2021, really. Well, no, I'm sorry, ever since 2001. Well, since 9/11 because they changed it at that point. But since that point, it's been powers to arrest and weapons of mass destruction. That's the point I was trying to make. And along the way, they ended up being taught online. We've taught them online forever and a day. And as a result, they're super cheap. You can take a guard registration class. You can do it with us for $20, basically. And we did them for $18.95 for years. Well, guess what? Now they say you can't do it all online. You got to do part of it in a live course. So that's going to make it difficult on people who live in an area where there is no training facility. If you live in a rural county, for example, and there's no training facility there, then you're going to have to get in your car and drive an awful long distance to go and take the rest of the guard registration class because it can't be done online completely. They've also taken weapons of mass destruction out of the 8-hour class and made it an elective. And essentially, they now have 2 new parts. There's powers to arrest, which is what it was before. It's 3 hours long. And then appropriate use of force, which is 5 hours long. So apparently, they're less concerned about terrorism, even though we have an open border letting everybody and their grandmother in. But they're more concerned about what you might do as a guard if you put hands on people or do something you're not supposed to do. So they've got 5 hours of appropriate use of force. These topics must be held in person. Here you go. The use of objectively reasonable force, the use of force review and analysis, de-escalation and interpersonal communication, and active shooter situations. So those have to be done in person, and that's that. And then the weapons of mass destruction is an elective. We'll take that and we'll put it over there in the 32 hours of electives. So once this is published, again, there's no curriculum published. So they got the requirement, but we can't do it because we have no idea how they want that done. What order do you want it done in? Where do you want it? I mean, there's no standard. So I'm waiting for the standard. But of course, they just sent the notice out, right? Because it was just approved on November 30th, right before the holidays. So, and BSIS people are going on vacation. Now, the nice part about this is there is a statement on the ones for the firearm and the notices that we got just recently. It says, BSIS will provide adequate time for licensees to become familiar with all revised training materials. So I'm assuming by that, I hope, that the existing courses are fine until, 1, the training materials that are supposedly revised are actually published, because they're not. If you go look on the BSIS website, they're not there. So we can't teach the training materials and training guidelines that don't exist. I can't chase my tail looking for myths. You got to actually provide me with the training materials. And 2, give us a little time to to change up the classes and get them where they're supposed to be before we do them. Now, are we going to do this? Absolutely, of course. We have a very robust and excellent online training system, so all the courses that are currently online are going to stay there because they're legal. And we will take all of the guard registration card class that we are allowed to put online, and we'll keep that online for you to make it more convenient. However, the other parts we'll have to teach at our training facility in Mission Valley in the Honda building. Okay, guard card classes, therefore, will be split into partly online and part in traditional classroom live. And then the baton permit and the firearms permit, those are required to be taught in a traditional classroom setting. No part of those are allowed to be taught online by statute and regulation. So those are taught at our facility anyway. So that hasn't changed. All right, and then with regard to this, as soon as I know something, this is going to be a bugaboo. I'm going to tell you right now. People are going to go, wait a minute, there's no date on this, so your requirement for that is absurd, and that's going to blow up in BSIS's face. And so I'm going to reach out to them and send them an email and talk to them on the phone, send them a letter and say, hey, guys, how are they going to do this? And see if they can't revise that a little bit. So if you have this permit in your pocket with no date on it, and for whatever reason it's not recorded on your stats on your account with BSIS and their online system, then they're going to have to come up with some provision to allow those folks to carry their baton for a while and give them a little time to renew these. And I don't know what that's going to be, but as soon as I know, I will let you know. All right, if you have questions about this, I apologize for the length of the video, then please do let me know. You can send an email to us at info@pdsclasses.com. I'll put it on the screen. Excuse me. Or you can send me a note if you want. Directly at joel@kbtninc.com. That is also on the screen. And if you want to keep an eye on what's going on with this, I'll make this part of an article that I'll post on the website, and I will put that at pdsclasses.com. Just click on articles, and there'll be information up there about this in the next day or two. I just published a new article, I think yesterday, so if you want to go read articles, you can do that. Thank you very much for all of your support. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for being great customers, great students. I appreciate that too. If you're not one of our students, please come take some classes with us. We do train security guards, but we also do a lot of shooting stuff and CCW classes and simulator classes and like that. So, that's the other part is I mentioned the simulator change, the simulator definition for the firearms permit class. There you go. Thanks. Have a great new year.